final countdown for Pete's cigar box guitar, and I'm sharing every high-impact tip and tool I use, from fire detailing a salvaged neck from the simple towel trick I use to apply high-gloss poly with no brush strokes. Stick around, because at the end, we're stringing this new build with Steve Arvey's killer strings and comparing 4 different string types, all within the light variety, to explore different tones, cut, and more. Hey fellow artists, if you've been following the channel, you know this build is for my friend Pete. It's a thank you for his help with my musical lecture last November. We'll both be performing at the Cigar Box Guitar Festival in Bradenton, Florida on February 7th, and I want to present this custom fretless slider to him at our next rehearsal. You've already seen the laser-carved F-holes on the stunning Tabak Especial Toro Dulce box and the woodcut-style Bob White quail on the back. Now, it's time to shape the neck. The box has been polyurethaned and is ready for the neck. I'm working with a dense piece of salvaged pine scrap, and this small belt sander has made shaping it a breeze. It's reduced my neck shaping time from hours with hand tools to just a few minutes, significantly improving the quality as well. I must mention, however, that it is by far the most dangerous tool in my workshop. I work with it with absolute caution, keeping my hands far away from the moving belt. I'm telling you, this thing can grind down a nail. It demands respect. My workshop isn't well ventilated, so I set it up outdoors. I began by carving out my recessed fender-style headstock and then smoothed out the rest of the neck. This tool has been a game changer for me, and if you're looking to upgrade from shaping necks with hand tools, then I highly recommend this powerful yet affordable belt sander. To ensure I didn't miss any bumps or splinters, I gave it a final light hand sanding, and now it's time for fire pit detailing. This is arguably the most enjoyable part. This process transforms the salvaged pine, accentuating the wood grain and giving it that gorgeous, charming, rustic character. Big FYI, the necks can get very hot during this process, so be sure to wear good heat-resistant mitts when doing this. I'm never disappointed by the fire pit results, but that detailing is further enhanced and protected with high-gloss polyurethane. Before application, I lightly sand off the excess char. Once that's done, I apply the poly using a towel. Of all the methods I've tried, this is the secret. Applying with a towel helps me prevent drip beads and obscure application strokes. Best of all, no more brush hairs on the workpiece. Regarding the poly I use, I work with various half-used products I've collected, so I don't have a specific brand to recommend. I left this neck to dry and cure for 24 hours, and when I came back, I realized I had made a critical mistake. I had forgotten to carve out what I call a sound ditch in the portion of the neck that threads through the cigar box. I always carve this ditch to prevent the neck from touching the lid, which is my instrument's soundboard and needs to be free to vibrate for good resonance. Since I use piezo pickups, the more resonant my instrument is acoustically, the better it will sound when it's plugged into an amp. I quickly corrected the mistake with my belt sander, applied poly to the ditch to protect it, and left it to cure overnight. The next day, it was time to wood glue the neck onto the lid. I clamped the neck and lid to my workbench, applying pressure to the joints for a full 24 hours. Gluing the neck to the lid is the simplest way to keep my boxes openable even after stringing, so Pete can store his slide, tuner, and music right inside his slider. How awesome is that? Next up, I superglued the nut and saddle bridge. This instrument has a 25-inch scale length. I used bolts for both the nut and bridge and kept them perfectly parallel. While most builders use a slanted bridge for intonation, I prefer this aesthetic and simply adjust my playing accordingly. Off camera, I glued the audio output jack in place, and now it's time to install a beautiful golden hasp latch. I'm careful not to drill in the screws at maximum RPM because the metal is thin, but once installed, they're durable and beautiful. I wired up a 35mm piezo pickup to Pete's slider. I always remove those flimsy, thin leads and replace them with sturdier, more conductive speaker cables. I soldered the pickup to the audio output jack, then superglued the disc onto the back of the threaded neck. Another feature of my sliders, my hidden scale degree and fret markers. I use a 25-inch scale length template from CB Giddy to mark my frets on the sides of my necks. I create my guide marks with an oil-based metallic paint marker, but once I would burn in the permanent markers, I'll completely erase those guide marks by rubbing them off with a poly-dipped towel. To protect my dot position markers from my final poly top coat, I simply use clear nail polish as a protectant. Finally, I installed these vintage-style machine tuners inspired by the Gibson Deluxe Green Key tuners, which hold their tension very well. I almost forgot. When you opt for carving out a flat Fender-style headstock rather than using an angled headstock made from two pieces of wood connected with a scarf joint, you need a string tension bar on the headstock. I went with a black one to match the color of the bolt I used for the saddle bridge. And now, it's the moment you all have been waiting for. The promised string comparison. We're using the lighter set of Mr. Arvey's special nickel-wound killer strings on Pete's guitar for an accurate comparison. I use light strings on all of my builds. We'll listen to Pete's guitar acoustically and compare the sound to that of his three brothers, Cowboy, which uses 80/20 brass strings, Tabak, my first CBG, which uses phosphor bronze strings, and Perdomo Habano Bourbon Barrel, which uses brass wound nylon strings. Let's start with Bourbon Barrel and work our way back to Pete's guitar. As you heard, every string type has its merits, and all have a place in my musical toolbox. Bourbon Barrel's nylon strings are ultra warm with incredible sustain. Tabak is tonally balanced. Cowboy is a sword-wielding warrior who cuts acoustically with bright 80/20 brass strings. The nickel-wound killer strings on Pete's guitar are very interesting. They have the same cut as Cowboy's strings, but are more flexible and easier on the picking hand. I love them. So let's have a little fun with Pete's guitar. I'm plugging him into my Joyo Travel amp to get a real feel for this brand new slider. I'm pleased with how Pete's gorgeously rustic CBG turned out, and I'll be presenting it to him at our next rehearsal. If you enjoyed this build and would like links to any of my tools and materials, sander, tuners, latches, or to Steve Arvey's killer strings, you can find them all bundled in the video description box. And if you're enjoying my videos, then please consider becoming a super sub by subscribing to my free newsletter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Chaito.